Picture having a skill so powerful that prisons label it a security threat, a skill that could make hardened criminals drop their weapons without a single word of force. In 1955, inside the concrete walls of Sterling Maximum Security Prison, guard Thaddeus Walsh paced the corridors of cell block D. His boots clicked against the cold floor as he made his rounds, just like any other Tuesday morning. The air froze when screams erupted from the mess hall. 2 inmates had shanks pressed against each other's throats. Blood already stained their shirts. Every guard reached for their weapon, except Thaddeus. He stepped forward and did something that violated every protocol in the prison handbook, something that made the other guards think he'd lost his mind. 30 seconds later, both shanks hit the floor. The inmates stepped back. No shots fired, no tear gas, no force. That day, Thaddeus Walsh stumbled onto a technique so effective, it transformed prison security worldwide. Today, Fortune 500 companies spend millions teaching their executives this exact same method. And it all started with a prison guard who broke the rules. Fast forward to 2024, a bank in downtown Seattle, 4 armed men, 8 hostages, and 12 hours of failed negotiations. Juniper Blackwood stands outside, phone in hand. She's handled 63 hostage situations in her career. This one's different. The lead gunman won't even speak to the police. I watch every new negotiator make identical mistakes, she says into her radio. They rush to offer solutions. They push for answers. They try to control the situation. Inside the bank, a gunman places it near the vault. His hands shake on his weapon. The hostages sit against the wall, eyes fixed on the floor. The air conditioning hums overhead. Juniper does something unexpected. She asks about his dog. 20 minutes later, he walks out, hands raised. This technique, this skill, it has 3 parts. Each one goes against every instinct we have as humans. First, the shadow mirror. When someone speaks, most people plan their words. They think about what to say next. But this technique requires you to become a shadow, reflecting every word, every emotion, without adding your own. A CEO used this with an angry employee about to sue the company. He just shadowed the employee's words. 2 hours later, they had a solution neither side saw coming. Second, the voltage drop. Humans naturally match energy. If someone raises their voice, we raise ours. This technique does the opposite. The higher their voltage, the lower yours drops. During a prison riot in Texas, a guard spoke softer and softer as inmates screamed louder. Within minutes, they quieted down to hear him. Third, the empty container. This is why prisons classify it as dangerous. You become an empty container for someone else's thoughts. No judgment, no direction, no control. Just pure space for them to fill. An interrogator used this with a silent suspect. He created such open that the suspect talked for 6 hours straight. This skill disarms people because it bypasses their defenses. They can't fight against nothing. They can't argue with their own reflection. They can't resist an empty container waiting to be filled. Scientists at Stanford put this technique to the test. They scanned people's brains during conversations. When someone experienced the skill, their amygdala, the fear center, went quiet. Their defense systems powered down. The research revealed something fascinating. This technique triggers the same brain patterns as being held by a parent. Safe, protected, understood. A Harvard study went deeper. They recorded 1,000 conversations. Those who used this skill solved conflicts 87% faster than those who didn't. The brain literally rewires itself when exposed to this method. Let's look at Oakley Chen, an IT specialist at a marketing firm. His department had the highest turnover rate in the company, 6 managers in 8 months. Everyone blamed each other. Oakley started using the skill in team meetings. He didn't fix anything. He didn't suggest solutions. He just created space. 3 weeks later, his colleagues began solving their own problems. The arguments stopped. 2 months later, their productivity doubled. The CEO wanted to know what changed. Here's what most people miss. This skill works best when everything else fails. When logic fails. When force fails. When persuasion fails. Remember Thaddeus Walsh, our prison guard? On his last day before retirement, he wrote something in his journal. I spent 20 years thinking I needed to be powerful, to have the right answers, to be in control. I was wrong. Real power comes from doing less, not more. Today, this skill sits in plain sight. Everyone has access to it. Few ever master it. Those who do transform their worlds. If you want to learn more about transforming your own world, hit that subscribe button. Leave a comment below sharing your experience with this skill. Your story might help someone else discover what Thaddeus Walsh discovered that Tuesday morning in 1955. And remember, the most dangerous social skill isn't about changing others. It's about creating the space for others to change themselves.